I've reached the conclusion that if I intend to accomplish something on any large scale, who I am as an entity is eventually going to become important. So basically, I'm going to try writing a diary. And then I'll talk about incidents from my life that led me to where I am now, so there's a greater understanding of who Balthazar3457 actually is and why. Now, before we get started, this video is essentially going to be the pilot episode for that series, and will explain the general idea of what some of my thought processes are. Immediately after this video is uploaded, part 2, or rather the first episode of the diary, will be uploaded as well, link in the description and in an annotation on the screen. I'm making a precursor episode because I should note that the hot topics that sit on the minds of the Western world are topics like feminism, gender roles, gay rights, marijuana legalization, etc. Social issues. I perceive social issues basically as fabrications and constructs. People obsess over gay rights because if they're paying attention to that, then they won't be paying attention to the housing market, or to the economy, or to other things. As such, I have an inherent disrespect for social issues. I perceive them as red herrings. People focusing on marijuana being legal or illegal aren't focusing on the state of our medical industry, or our unemployment rate, or wealth inequality and its effects on our laws, etc. And marijuana is a perfect example. The idea of actually making marijuana illegal wasn't invented until the 1900s. In fact, most prohibition concepts in America weren't invented until the 1900s. A lot of people don't know that at one point alcohol was made illegal in the United States. That was in our first prohibition era, also, once again, created and formed in the 1900s. Imagine if I was some shady figure that wanted the people to become comatose so I could do whatever I wanted with the government and to the country without scrutiny. I might consider making them feel like they were free and their choices and votes actually mattered by making them exercise meaningless choices. For example, I might fabricate an idea to ban alcohol, and then throw that to the people so they can fight over it. And by pushing for alcohol to be illegal or legal, the people can feel like their actions actually matter. And once the fight for alcohol is over, I'll throw in something else, maybe marijuana, maybe voting rights for a specific minority. Never voting rights for everyone equally, that's too efficient. If the people fight for everyone's rights all at the same time, then this little red herring might last 5 years instead of 100, so we definitely do it one minority group at a time. And basically just rinse and repeat. Rehash the same plan over and over again with a slightly new, slightly different thing that the people need to pay attention to and be distracted by and focus their efforts on. It was alcohol in the 1920s, it's marijuana today, maybe in 20 years it'll be something else like owning a cat. Something random that people didn't consider banning beforehand is now banned and now requires their attention to fix. And this would give the people a sense that they're actually doing something by constantly enforcing or fighting my fabricated and artificially constructed social divisions that are otherwise pointless in the bigger picture, and then they'll be too distracted with fabricated and artificially constructed divisions to pay attention to important things I'm doing. Now, despite my vast disrespect for social issues as a result of the above, I'm also aware of the fact that people care about them, and that by proxy, to address the gigantic red herring and point out the fact that it is a red herring, I also need to care about them to some extent, unfortunately. However, this is also inflated because I have a vision I want to see fulfilled. I want to build a nation to certain specifications, and I've mentioned this in previous videos. We can't just be the political party that has no stance on social issues. Social issues are too well grounded in the minds of people and have too many effects on people's personal lives that, despite the fact that they are artificial fabrications, they still need to be addressed anyway at this point. A perfect example is the effects the drug war and illegal state of marijuana have had on our prison systems in the United States. We have the highest incarceration rate worldwide, and most of that comes from nonviolent drug offenders and victimless crimes. So despite the fact that the entire concept of a war on marijuana is a petty social issue and a fabrication, it's too far ingrained at this point to simply be ignored. To summarize my party position on social issues, I'd mostly want to nullify them, delete them basically. Make it clear to people by educating them that the entire concept of these social issues is a red herring, a distraction, a decoy. So that basically means that my stance on social issues will generally be a nullification stance. That being basically the burden of proof. You may have heard the phrase, that which can be asserted without evidence can be dismissed without evidence. So if a particular stance on a social issue doesn't have adequate evidence to justify its existence, my stance will usually be to remove it. An example would be marijuana. If the people who want marijuana illegal cannot present me with adequate crime rates and health research to indicate that banning marijuana is useful and worth the money, then the entire point will be dismissed. Marijuana will be legal until credible information suggesting that marijuana should even be considered for being made illegal is brought up and presented. If you're pushing for marijuana to be illegal and you don't have valid research and scientific reasons to make it so, you're wasting my government's time, and your point will be dismissed until that changes. So that's my stance on marijuana, and the same rationalization will apply to many of these social issues. My stance on gay marriage is basically, why should I bother banning it? Why is this worth my time? Why do I give a fuck? And if there are no adequate reasons for me to give a fuck, then I don't give a fuck. And this policy would of course be reflected in a government of my design. Based on the information I have now, I don't have adequate evidence to prove that I should have gay marriage banned, or prove that I should have marijuana made or kept illegal. So if you're living in Balthazar 3457's meritocracy, neither of these will be illegal unless the situation is brought up and scientific evidence indicates that banning them is practical and useful to our society and our nation. As it stands now, I lack information indicating that either of those should be illegal, therefore neither will be illegal. And as of the time of me making this video, that's our stance. Gay marriage and marijuana are both allowed, and similar logic will apply to almost anything that would be construed as a social issue. Unless there is a valid debate for why something should be illegal and would provide practical benefits to my society or my nation, chances are it's going to be legal. The burden of proof is on those who want to make something illegal and want me to spend billions of dollars and jail or kill people over the issue. If they want to present the point that marijuana should be illegal, it's their responsibility to present adequate evidence to do so. Furthermore, why would gay marriage or marijuana be worth my immediate attention, even if the science did support them? This brings back the point of the social matters being red herrings. Am I to believe that what the gays are doing is more important than setting up a proper medical industry? Am I to believe that it's more important than managing our unemployment rates and keeping them below 1%? If you can prove that that's the case, then sure, but I have a suspicion that that isn't so. Now that that's out of the way, part 2 of this video, or episode 1 in my diary series, will be uploaded immediately after this one. And the reason for that is because I'm wondering if shorter and more precise videos are easier to watch and would obtain more views, so I split the video to test that.